Good evening. My name is Jack Smith and I'm going to present a talk on Greenock history concerning the statues on the Greenock Municipal buildings. I originally am from Port Glasgow and have always admired the Greenock Municipal buildings and the great James Watt Dock complex that were both constructed in the 1880s. Tonight, I will be going with you on a guided tour. I call this a guided tour because I have never come across another attempt that tries to outline what the statues on the municipal building were meant to represent. The Victorians had reasons for all their statues, and this presentation is an attempt to put some meaning into why the statues are where they are and who they may represent. You will see many statues and symbols in the next 35 or 40 minutes, and you will then be able to find them on the real building. Here are some examples. This gentleman is on the south face and represents commerce. This gentleman with snakes in his hair you will find on the north face. This lady is a powerful Greek lady and you will find her on the tower. This lady is also on the tower but at a much higher height. These two ladies are to be found on the south face, advertising corporation shops. These are a group of 4 young men navigating on the west face. This is a lady found on the north face, showing you where to go for certain corporation services. Lastly, we see on the Victoria Tower 2 foxes who are members of the so-called Greenock Zoo, which we will visit. This is an up-to-date photograph of what the municipal buildings look like today. This was not, however, how the Victorians had originally planned it. I will now explain a little why Greenock built such a beautiful building and how it reached its final form. The Greenock Municipal buildings were constructed in the 1880s. Towns round Greenock had already made public statements about themselves, such as Port Glasgow. Here is the Port Glasgow town building, which had been completed in 1816. In 1869, the Port Glasgow Town Hall had been constructed, and that completed the public buildings necessary to run Port Glasgow as a town. Greenock had not yet caught up. Projects had been put forward to improve the centre of Greenock. One of these projects was to build a new street that would go from William Street all the way through to Charles Street. The project was not to be, but it gave the town excellent knowledge of the costs needed to acquire all of these buildings and laid the foundation for future plans for this area. In the 1850s, Provost Martin's Council decided that all of the municipal buildings should be concentrated in one suitable spot, if possible. This is the yellow coloured area you can see on this slide. In blue is the only municipal building in Greenock at this time, and is the Old Town building built in 1756 under the influence of James Watt's father. The area they had chosen to clear was an absolute warren of many different narrow closes. So an initial proposal for a new set of corporation buildings was decided on, and in 1856 they started to put some of the plan into action by buying up land. This is a view of the plain 1756 town building. Here is a map of the chosen area which, under the provostship of Provost Martin, the town started to acquire properties and started to plan for future town buildings. In this area around the old town building from 1756, they built a new town hall in 1856, costing £25,000, and a new police building in 1858. The new town hall, however, was built on limited land. It was not ideal. It was at an angle to Dalrymple Street and did not even reach the line of Dalrymple Street, leaving a gap between the back of the building and the main street. This is clearly seen in the view of the back next to the house with the 5 gables. This is the new police building and eventually county court that was constructed in 1858 and is the third of 3 simple buildings built in the Provost Martin era. In 1875, an Act of Parliament was passed that allowed councils to purchase and build better housing for artisans or workers. An ex-provost and now Member of Parliament for Greenock, Mr. J. Grieve, was the first MP in Scotland to use this power of the Act to plan for Greenock's municipal buildings. So a proper competition was set up to find the best municipal building plan. To judge this, the corporation engaged a Mr. Charles Barry, who was the head of the British Architects Association. He was given 50 plans to analyse and judge. In the first instance, he came up with 6, then 3, and then the winner. The winning bid was submitted by a Glasgow architect group led by Henry and David Berkeley, and this is their concept. It is noted that it is in the French Renaissance style. One commentator said that it would have fitted entirely into the streets of Paris. This drawing was published in the Advertiser newspaper, and I have coloured it to bring it to life. The view is from the southwest and shows the west face overlooking a very broad Wallace Square. To the right is a broad Hamilton Street leading to Cathcart Square, and to the north is Dalrymple Street. Although beautiful, it differs markedly from what we have now. Just look at the roof line. This is the Berkeley original plans. Even in 1879, it was apparent that the full plan may be compromised. Looking at the drawing of the south face, you see that the right side is shaded in a lighter tone because this is the disputed Cowan's Corner area that had not been acquired. The effect of the Cowan's Corner problem was profound. Lawrence Bennett Robinson, the landowner, was offered £11,600 for the properties, but it was said that he demanded £16,000 and refused to sell. He held out. In the end, the corporation failed. The Robinsons built their own building that lasted till the Blitz in 1941. This is how Cowan's Corner looks now. There were consequences for the municipal building. Some were bad and some were good. Monies that should have been used to complete Cowan's Corner were freed up to enhance the building plans that had already been approved. This allowed changes to the Victoria Tower, to the Town Hall facade, to the north face, the north and south tower, and completion of the 4 elaborate pedestals on the west face and south face. The tower went from 150 feet to 243 feet and was embellished by many additional statues. Then the 2 towers on the ends of the west face came into being and were grander than the original concept. 2 elaborate sculptured pedestals were installed on the west face. 2 more were installed on the south face. So this view is of our modern and very attractive municipal buildings. From now on, I will go through the buildings, statues and symbols in detail, illustrating what our ancestors have left us to cherish and appreciate. The tour starts at the north face. It goes on to the west face, then on to the south face, and then finishes with a detailed view of the Victoria Tower. This is a laser-drawn map made only a few years ago at the north face, and this shows you how the north face is segmented into 3 main pieces. The north face was the utilitarian face of the municipal buildings. It looked onto Dalrymple Street, which did not have a prestigious reputation. The town council did not consider it necessary to over-glorify this side of the building because the building was serving such utilitarian needs. Here you had, from left to right, the police station in red, the facade for the back of the town hall, all in blue, and the fire station in yellow. The original drawings for each of these 3 components have survived. Firstly, the police station, and what you see is the building itself has retained the original structure, but the decorations are more widespread. This is the facade for the town hall. This is also somewhat similar, but here there is a dramatic escalation of the amount of decoration from the original plan when the extra money was applied. The third section is the fire station. It's also like the original concept, but the function of the fire station and its surrounds changed as the building work went on. Originally, the fire station was meant to have many apartments in the attic for rent and also had some shops in the lowest level. The fire station building had extensive basements that were meant to be used by the shops. Over time, however, the shops idea did not last. So we had 3 different functions on the north face. The architects, however, did try to have a common theme in the separate sections. In this case, there is green dots that shows a common style of sculpture that was on the fire station and on the police station. The police station has 2 characters where the green dots are. One character is a young boy trying to get away from a snake and is challenging him, and a second boy is grappling vigorously with another huge snake. Since this takes place on the face of the police station, one wonders if there was a moral in their actions in grappling with evil in the form of the snake. On the fire station, we have a much happier proposal. Here we see a young lady in peril, desperately trying to hold on and grasping the tree tightly. On the right-hand side, we see coming to her rescue a lad brandishing his fireman's hose. A second attempt to give the fire station and police station a common theme is shown at the top of the square pillars that are on both buildings. Each of these pillars have been embellished by little angels. Sometimes there are two of them. They have similar style in both buildings. Now we concentrate on the unique elements of the police station. In the more detailed view, you can see that lots of effort has been applied to give you an imposing front. There are two large statues high on the face. The one to the left is of a lawyer or writer, as it is known in the 1880s. He represents the law. William Street, round the corner from the police station, had many writers of very high standard, including Robert Neal, the future provost of the town. Here is a close-up of the lawyer. The statue to the right is a distinguished judge and represents justice. A close-up of the judge. Under the judge there are a few symbols. There is a globe above a sailing ship, and they are surrounded by two large lions whose bodies unfortunately have been damaged by the Greenock atmosphere. A close-up of the globe. A close-up of the lion's head. Under these is an arc of Scottish thistles. Here is a close-up of the Scottish thistles that are there to represent and state that this court and law practice is based on Scottish law. The displays of four heads above the entrance doors and windows on the ground floor of the police station have a public purpose in being there. There are two ladies over the windows to the left of the entrance, and there are two gentlemen over the entrance to the doors on the right. The first lady has around her neck some pipes as a necklace, and she's there to guide you towards the sanitary department, which is in the police building. The second lady is there to point you towards the cleansing department of the corporation, which is also in the police building. Then, over the large doors, we have two heads of gentlemen. The first head represents a police doctor who is always present at the police station. We know he is a doctor because he has wrapped around his head snakes that are symbolic of his profession. Then the second gentleman is the police turnkey, who has chains around his neck and locks in his hair, and is telling us he is the guardian of the 36 new cells in the police station. We now move on to the facade at the back of the town hall. This is perhaps the surprise of the Greenock Municipal buildings. It has some of the most symbolic portrayals in all three sides of the building, and it certainly was changed from the original concept. There are 5 main areas of interest to be noted on the facade. At the top there are 5 distinct friezes. Then, underneath, there are 4 gigantic men. The third symbolic grouping is of women's heads at the top of the marble pillars. And finally, there are 2 heads at the ground floor level that have significance for those intending to use the town hall. This, in one view, shows 3 of the complex groupings on the facade. The first deals with 5 unique little friezes set high on the wall. They each contain 4 little boys who are busy in different activities. The first 4 boys are busy in science activities using the latest world globes and instruments. The second set of boys are working with many tools in an industrial setting. The third set of boys are on a ship and using the instruments for navigation. The fourth set of boys are using agricultural tools to till the land and cut the hay. The fifth set of boys are very relaxed and play musical instruments, and it looks like they are enjoying singing. We move down from the 5 friezes and concentrate on 4 gigantic male figures. These half-clothed men are the first personification of the architect's view of the 4 corners of the earth. In the 1880s, it was still accepted that there were only 4 continents. Australia had not yet been considered a continent, and the Americas, North and South, were only considered one continent. So we have on display the continent of Europe, the continent of Asia, the continent of Africa, and finally the continent of the Americas. A set of women's heads at the top of the marble pillars displays the same theme. Again, we have Europe, then Asia, then Africa, and finally the Americas. As in the police station, in the town hall facade, there is also use of heads to guide people. There are 2 heads positioned to the left and to the right of the 3 doors that lead you into the staircases that take you up to the town hall. The first head is to the left of the 3 doors and is a guide for the men who are going into the town hall as performers, musicians, or caterers for great occasions. And a second head is a lady guiding the lady performers to their staircase. The third section of the north face is a fire station. We have already discussed the friezes above the doors and now move on to the 3 heads that are used to guide people as in the police station. The first lady has barrels around her neck and various keys on her hair, and she is leading you to the weights and measures functions of the council. The gentleman in the middle is definitely a fireman. The second lady has chains around her neck and a yoke in her hair and is there to lead you to the transport administration to be found in this part of the municipal buildings. An imposing feature of the corporation buildings is the North Tower. It has as decoration many important statues. As we move from the roof line up the North Tower, you meet an important and imposing giant who seems to be struggling with a load above him. His identity is a mystery. One could speculate that it is Hercules or Atlas. Above him is a truly mysterious creature. This creature has a lion's head with 2 small horns. It also has eagle's wings. It is standing on human legs, and it is wearing a formidable breastplate. It appears to be a mystical polymorph, a creature made up of many different components. Polymorphs occur in many cultures, such as Sumerian or Babylonian cultures. What does Greenock's polymorph represent? There was a Christian scheme devised by Jerome in the 5th century that incorporated symbols of the 4 evangelists who were Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John. Many artists have displayed the symbols of Jerome, some in quite dramatic ways. It is also a Christian view that one can wear and display a breastplate portraying righteousness. So what we have here in Greenock's buildings is a tetramorph that portrays the 4 evangelists through the horns, the lion's head, the eagle's wings, and human legs, and sports the breastplate of righteousness. With that Christian viewpoint, it is imaginable that the giant may be Samson. Above the polymorph, there are 2 additional statues on the North Tower. The first I will call Statue 1 and the second Statue 2, and later on I will explain who I think they are. This is an overview of the west face. I have dealt with the North Tower, and now I want to deal with the two pedestals that are on the roof line. Again, it is worth reminding ourselves that the west face roof line is totally different from the original concept put forth by the architects. These changes were put into action round about 1881 when the Cowan's Corner dispute was recognised as being unresolvable. This, however, reassigned money, and it resulted in the two large north and south towers being conceived and 4 pedestals, 2 of which were on the west face. The first pedestal I call the Navigation Pedestal. This sits on top of the entrance to the public offices. It consists of 4 deeply carved young men, showing them managing a ship and using navigation instruments. They are supported by 4 ladies and 2 angels. The 4 ladies carry implements which may be associated with the navigation task above them. For instance, 2 of the ladies are carrying the hull of a ship and a lighthouse, respectively. The second pedestal I call the Industry Pedestal. It's above the entrance leading to the front of the town hall. It also has 4 young men busying themselves with hammers and other tools in an industrial situation. There are also 4 women with instruments that may be construed to be useful in industry. Here is a view of the 2 angels that are part of this pedestal. Now I want to return to the west face below the roofline and its entrances. The first entrance to talk about is the entrance that was used to try to reach the attic space of the municipal buildings. Here there were 40 rooms assigned for rental at one stage, but it seems they were largely unused. The second entrance on the west face is the entrance to the public offices. It is decorated by a magnificent lady on a chariot and 2 symbolic friezes. The 4 charging horses are full of energy and power, yet the lady handles them with a very light touch and an elegant wave of her left hand. It is possible she could be Amphitrite, the wife of Poseidon, the god of the sea. Above her, to her left, is a carving of a ship at port, unloading its cargo, and above her, to her right, is a portrayal of the cargoes the ship may have been carrying. Still on the west face, there are, in the high windows, heads of ladies. Here is a close-up of 2 of them. Here is 2 more, and a further 2. There are similar ladies' heads on the south face of the building. They do not appear to tell a specific story, except perhaps to recognise womanhood. But one feature to be noted is that every lady has a different hairstyle. There are 9 empty niches on the west face that are meant to contain images of prominent people of Greenock. On the south face there is a further 5 and was meant to be 8, but for Cowan's Corner. So in total there were supposed to be 17 and none of them have been filled. Under the empty plinths there are also nameplates which have not been filled in. These are attractively decorated by dragons, angels and griffins, but remain unwritten. This is the entrance that leads today to the front of the town hall and also has some symbolic decoration. The throughway goes all the way to Cathcart Square and where the provost can park his car. The symbol is of a Viking ship with its oars raised, escorted by 2 huge sea creatures. I mentioned earlier that there was a North Tower and a South Tower. Due to the ravages of the Second World War, we have lost the South Tower and also the two pedestals that stood above the roof on the south face. This is how the south face looks now, without those decorations. However, we have some evidence of what we have lost. First, there is the South Tower. It had 3 major statues on it, and extensive decoration above those statues. Firstly, there are the angels that decorated the top of the tower. Then there is the 3 prominent statues that looked into the town. The statue to the left appears to be a farmer who is leaning with his left hand on a hoe. This shows the farmer's hoe. The central figure is a man who appears to be involved with scientific matters. He is holding a navigation instrument and has a globe at his feet. Then we have a glimpse of a third figure facing Cathcart Square. From some blurry photographs, he appears to be a soldier with his right hand resting on his sword on his left side. The 2 lost pedestals above the roof on the south face are captured also with unclear photographs. One pedestal appears to have the theme of art and music because one of the young men appears to be playing a lute. The second pedestal could be interpreted as science because one of the young men is pointing up to the heavens in an inquiring way. These interpretations are in line with the title of the municipal building project, Arts and Science. You may have expected that the architects would put art and science pedestals on the south face in its most prominent position for the viewer. That is good logic, but there is no clear proof. Moving back to the present, here is a view of the west side of the south face with all the added features. Revenue creation was meant to be a big component of justifying the municipal buildings, and for that the architect designed in 4 double shops and 2 single shops on the south face with an arcade. This is one of the sculptured advertisements for the shops and the arcades. In this there are 2 gentlemen who have behind them perhaps sugar and wheat. In the second advert we have 2 ladies showing off vines and flowers behind them. Here is a modern view of the south face. Here is the main entrance to the south face, showing the many points of interest that you can find there. The entranceway was meant to be fit to welcome royalty. This is the main entrance and public entrance to the municipal buildings. Immediately above the doorway are 2 symbolic statues. The one in the left represents art and the one in the right is science. Above that is the motto of Greenock. Flanking the motto are 2 sea creatures. Above them there is the central single statue of commerce. He wears a hat with wings emphasizing speed. As in the north face, there is the use of heads to try to visualize themes of the town. In this case, we have 4 heads of ladies who are portraying the industries of Greenock. The first lady has herring in her hair and wears a fishing net around her neck, and that portrays the herring industry in Greenock. The second lady appears to illustrate the sugar industry in Greenock. The third lady shows off her shipbuilding industry with gauges and gears. And the fourth lady illustrates our world overseas trade with a ship and anchors. High on the south face, we can see protective lions. They come in different styles. From the south face we move on to the most prominent part of the municipal buildings, and that is the Victoria Tower. This truly is an outstanding feature of the municipal buildings and is a standout in the town. Unused Cowan's Corner money allowed enhancements to the tower, and it went from 150 feet to 243 feet in height. Here we see the rival, which was the Glasgow Corporation buildings, and when the height of the Glasgow Tower was announced, Greenock went higher. This is the final drawing of the Berkeley architects of what the tower would look like. The tower would have a dome, the tower would be extended, the tower would have decorative cupolas and other enhancements. So here is the completed masterpiece. This shows all of the individual additions to the tower, and some of them are easy to see, and some of them are not so easy to see. In 1881, the foundation stone of the municipal buildings was laid. On the same day that the foundation stone was laid for the James Watt Dock project, with all the pomp and ceremony it deserved. Turning to the tower decorations. At the base of the tower there is an archway full of animals and two very powerful Greek ladies. On the archway there is an owl, a dog, a crane, a cat, a pigeon, a squirrel, a turkey, a rabbit, two foxes, and a parakeet, and an exotic monkey. One local gentleman called this the Greenock Zoo. Under the archway of animals there are two formidable Greek ladies. The first is Hecate with her symbol of a torch. She was very powerful and commanded life and death. Here she is in close-up. Then there is Athena with her snowy owl companion. She is a powerful goddess of knowledge. Higher up the tower there is a collection of young men sailing a herring bus. The Greenock weather has not been kind to them. In some ways, their features have become quite gross. They are there to symbolise the herring industry of Greenock, particularly around the market that was sited at the harbour. The herring bus is a ship that was copied from the Dutch and was built in Greenock from 1711 by Scots of Greenock. Again, higher on the tower, there is the scene of a guardian angel and two men in a very casual, sprawling pose in front of the angel. The angel is not unexpected and unusual. The sprawling men, however, are unusual, as this is not the posture of senior politicians or councilmen. Who could they be? The heads seem to be well sculptured and individualised. A radical thought is that these are in fact the two architects, Hugh Berkeley and David Berkeley. A further radical thought is that we may have seen them before on our journey around the buildings. Did we see them on the North Tower? Statue 1, for instance, may be Hugh Berkeley. Here he is in close-up. Statue 2 may be David Berkeley, again in close-up. They perhaps deserve to be immortalised. They had handled the difficult job of creating and then modifying the municipal buildings plan extremely well. And there is nobody else in Greenock who was thought fit to fill any of the empty statue platforms. They contributed very fully to the structure and buildings of Inverclyde over many years. There was the Highlanders Academy, for example. There is the James Watt College, Jean Street School in Port Glasgow, and Clune Park School in Port Glasgow, and perhaps that's why they appear on the building. The last portrayal of symbolism is very high on the Victoria Tower. Here we have our third manifestation of the four corners of the earth. These are the four ladies in this case who symbolise Europe, the Americas, Asia and Africa. A close-up of Europe, the Americas, Asia and Africa. This is a final glorious view you see of our municipal buildings, and my tour finishes here. I am grateful for the support of my history group, cottageidentity.org, where you can find many local history articles. I leave you with a view of the two very large projects that Greenock successfully completed. This shows in the distance the James Watt Dock project, and in the forefront the municipal buildings in their full splendour. Goodbye. God speed Greenock.